Morning folks, welcome to North Knives. This is going to be part 3 of my kitchen axe build. So on the agenda today I am getting the austenitizing part of the heat treatment done and the quench. So I've got the kiln heating up behind me. It seems to be behaving today, so hopefully that continues. I've never had an issue with it before yesterday. Yeah, so I'll go through exactly what I'm doing there in a minute, and I probably should have said in the last video, when I was doing the normalizing cycle, that was for SF100, which is a stainless steel, and probably do something similar for the stainless steels. I would not recommend that for carbon steels. Okay, let's have a look. While the kiln's been heating up, I have been looking at wood, and I thought I'd chosen this bit of oak I cut ages ago in scales, and it's nice and big, plenty of room to make my axe handle. And the rings of the grain, I think that would look really cool. I thought I'd decided, but I thought I'd go and have a look because I actually envisaged this knife with dark handles originally, and although I actually haven't pulled out any super dark wood. But next up is this just absolutely stunning redwood. All of these woods are non-stabilised. I've only got a couple of bits that are stabilised and big enough to do this handle, and I could use them, but one of them's like Bacote, I'm not even sure how you say that, like the Mexican rosewood, and the other one's like a spalted beech, and I just fancy something different. Anyway, the redwood, I think the redwood's winning at the moment. Anyway, I found this. I've been given these, well, I say given, I quite often make a knife for people that bring me wood, and my friend JT bought me a box of wood, and I think it's all really old. It's like, I think an old Turner, and I think he'd passed away and JT had got hold of some of his wood. Anyway, I hadn't actually really studied this, and I'd noticed it had plain written on it. It's got plain written on both sides, and I only just, it's been in my iron cupboard for ages, but I only just actually studied the grain. And well, I'm a bit of a novice with wood, but I'm pretty certain this is London plain, which gets called something else as well. I've forgotten off the top of my head. But this is an old bit of wood, you know. I'm looking at this thinking, if I cut this open and when I start sanding it, I think that's going to be an absolutely stunning bit of wood. So yeah, I'd ask for your advice. Oak, redwood, London plain, but I'm probably going to be already into it by the time you see this video. But still, I'd like to know which one you would have chosen. So the kiln is up to temperature, it's set to 1071 degrees. It's just going to hold there for 10 minutes now, warming up the whole kiln before I do anything. I might leave it even longer, see how we get on. See how stable the temperature is. Okay, so I've chosen the redwood. I've just cut it out on the bandsaw, so I've got these scales now. I think that's going to look super nice. So I've just labelled the outside of the scales, and also I just draw some triangles everywhere. That means I can't, if I put it together the wrong way, it's obvious. It can only come together that way, and yeah, it's easy to lose track, so important step. So coming up to time, there's going to be another 5 minutes after this, in which time, towards the end of that 5 minutes, I'll slip the blade in. I've got my aluminium quench plates set up ready. I'm just setting up the compressor. It's all ready to go, so just turn it on. Okay. So the compressor's ready, it's just gone off. I'm on to my 5 minutes. I think I'm just going to actually let it go through. The reason that I've chosen the temperature that I have, which is 1071 degrees, is because I've done a lot of testing, and the temperature range for heat treatment of SF100, which is a stainless steel, is 1050 to 1080 degrees C. So with my kiln, the perfect temperature I've found is 1071 degrees, and the entire time it stays within that range of 1050 to 1080 degrees. I've just seen it drop below 1050, so unless it becomes very stable in these last 2 minutes, I'll let it go, just heat through a bit longer. It's still dropping below, so I'm going to let it go longer. So the kiln's been on an extra 15 minutes, and super happy that it was at a stable temperature. Now obviously it's dropped a lot. I've put the blade in, so I've had the door open, it drops because of that, and then it can continue to drop because you've put cold steel in. But it appears to be coming back up now, and once it's up to temperature, it's going to hold. I've got the program set for 16 minutes, so I want 15 minutes. So once it gets to the last minute, I basically wait until it's at 1071 degrees and pull it out at that moment and into the quench plates and blast it with compressed air. So it's really hard to film all this. I haven't got a stand and I don't want to burn myself, so I apologise, but that's what I'm going to do. And then after that I immediately unwrap it once it's cool enough to handle, and shove it in the freezer. Okay, so this is what I've come out with. I didn't say earlier, but I just used the same foil that I used in the normalising cycle. I was quite happy it wasn't compromised. So yeah, it's cool to the touch now, or cool enough to handle. Let's see what we've got. I've never actually messed up the heat treatment. Enough to start again. So the don't not actually know what you'd have to do. I'd have to do some research, but I'm guessing you might have to like anneal blade first and then maybe normalize and then start again. Get some gloves because I don't want to cut myself. Hopefully it's not oxidized. Okay. So it's still warm, not hot. Got a little bit of oxidization along the tip. Looks cool. Yeah, but not to worry, I have obviously heat treated this at full thickness and all of this is getting ground off, so we're going to get back to steel that hasn't been oxidized. So yeah, this needs to go in the freezer now. I will check the temperature and tell you, but it's somewhere between -10 and -20, something like that. And that'll be it for this blade today. Tomorrow we can go to tempering. I'm not going to check the hardness before I temper. I might change my mind on that, but I've done this heat treatment quite a lot of times. I used to check after austenitizing and then temper it down accordingly, but I kind of know where I'm at, hopefully. So I'll probably just go straight on to tempering, and this will be in the freezer overnight, so we'll continue tomorrow morning. It is a new day. I've just pulled this out of the freezer. It wants to come in. Come on, man. Good boy. And I don't know how accurate this is, but it's gone down to -10 already. It was about -16 when I pulled it out. So, ready for tempering. I'll just let this come up to room temperature first. So the kiln's nearly up to temperature. Never actually done this in the kiln, the tempering cycle. So yeah, it's up to temperature. It's just going to hold for 10 minutes. Yeah, so the blades come out deadly straight. I can show you, hopefully. Normally I would clamp the blade up, and normally I don't think heat treated blades one at a time since I was doing it in the forge. So normally I have multiple blades, and the reason for this mostly is cost now. And another reason for doing this in the kiln is I'm going to get a pretty good idea of cost. I've already spent about £3 on the heat treatment. You can program the kiln how much your electric costs, and then after the firing it tells you how much it costs. So the stress relief cycle and the hardening cycle has cost about £3 so far. So we will see how much the tempering cycles cost. It's 2 hours at 190 twice, so a total of 4 hours, but I bring it out and cool it down and then start again. So yeah, all I think I'm going to do differently is when I pull it out, because I'm in here and I've got my quench plates down there, I will just shove it in there while it cools, just to make sure we're keeping flat. But yeah, so that's all I'm going to do. So hopefully you can see that it's come out deadly straight, and it's straight this way too, straight along the edge, straight down this way. So yeah, I'm confident not to clamp this up. As I say, I normally clamp them, and I'm normally doing multiple blades, so it's just not, the kiln's not big enough, so I do it in the oven, the house oven. So yeah, let's get this in. 2 minutes to go, and after settling down, when I put the blade in, it's just stayed at 190 for 2 hours, so that's wonderful. Definitely better than my kitchen oven. So I'm going to pull it out and just whack it in there to keep it straight. We'll find out how much it costs for that round, and then I'm going to do the same again. Hopefully the kiln's going to retain some heat, so the second round won't cost as much. Okay, so you can just see the blade peeking out because it's so big, and the cost was 20p, so that's good. A few seconds, and then when it hits 190 again, oh no, so it's 2 hours starting from now. Heat treatment complete. I don't know if you'll be able to tell, but the blade has changed colour slightly, a bit more strawy colour. So that final tempering cycle cost 12p, the first one cost 20p, so it's 32p. The rest of it was, I can't remember exactly, but it was over £3, so I'm going to say £3.50 total to heat treat this, as long as we've got the results that we were looking for, which is 59 to 60 HRC. So the final bit of my heat treatment process is to test the hardness. Of course, we need to get back to fresh, nice steel, and also it can't be too rough a grit, because then there'll be like peaks. If I say it was 40 grit, there'll be like big peaks and valleys, and if the diamond indenter lands on a peak and then falls into the valley, you'll get a false soft reading. So I'm only going to test the edge, so I just need to clean up both sides so that they're nice, and yeah. Obviously I will start with the 40 grit, but I'll probably go to 120 or maybe 200, 220, 240, something like that, to test it. So that's the next step. So I've actually taken all the blade back to bare metal, but the tip, or the cutting edge, I've taken to a higher grit, so the rest of it's 120, this is 240, and I've been using this surface grinder attachment. I can do this one-handed. So this goes on these rails, and you get the grinder spinning and you go back and forth. This is a magnetic chuck. So I didn't show any of that process because it was largely improvised. The chuck is just about big enough for normal knives. You do have to improvise on an 8-inch chef a little bit, and I do have to improvise with this. So obviously you can see it's much bigger. So that was a many stage process, but I'm ready to do the hardness testing, and I'll maybe show this working on a more normal knife so you guys can see. this is another process. I normally do a few knives at a time just because it's less time consuming. So the first step is to clean every surface with rubbing alcohol. So the diamond indenter, the little table, I've got my test block which is 62 HRC, and cleaned the knife as well. So I'm pretty much ready to go. So this is the test block, 62 HRC, coming out just under 62 or just over 61.5. This machine has a tolerance of 1.5 HRC either way. So I'm happy with that, and I will continue and now test on the blade. So I've loaded the blade and loaded pressure onto the diamond indenter. You can see, just about see, this little arrow needs to be going to that red line, and then we match this dial up. You can move that for the C scale. And then we come down here, this says load, so we load and you'll see the dials moving. We're loading the weight onto the diamond indenter. So this is a fairly time consuming process. You'll see this knob slowly moving, and this is the unloading knob, or whatever you want to call it, which will give us our result. So that needs to come back to its normal position, and then we wait a bit longer just to make sure everything's settled, and that'll give us our HRC reading. So I test every blade at least 5 times, sometimes more. So it takes a little while, but it's an important step for me. So I know what I'm giving the customer, but also I know I record what I did in the heat treatment, and then I know the results that gave. Okay, so the knob's it's in position, so it's unload that way, so we push it that way, and this is going to give us a HRC reading. Again, you have to wait a little bit, it kind of goes up, but fractional amounts. Okay, so it's steady. I think I'm going to call that 60.6. So come down here, I've already got a few results. 60.6. Okay. So let's just take you through what I've got here. 3 of the results are 60.6, 2 of the results are 61, so really consistent. The mode average would be 60.6. I'm going to do the mean average though, so you can see my working out. What we've come to is 60.7 HRC. Now when I put in the information for the knife, I don't think people want to know the points of it, so I round either up or down to get to a whole number, unless it's come out in exactly or near to a half number. Anyway, I'm going to put this one down as 61 HRC. Now, I did say I was aiming for 59 or 60 HRC, so there is options here. I could temper it down. I could temper it at a bit of a higher temperature, like 200 or 220, because I did the tempering at 190, and test it again. which I guess you'll find out in the next video. For now, I'm going to leave it. 61 HRC for me for a kitchen knife is good. I think more high-end Japanese knives tend to be around 61. More Western knives you can find like 57, 58, 59. So I'm gonna have to have a little think, because it is going to be a kitchen axe, so it's essentially going to be for chopping veg, which 61 I'm completely happy with. But as it's an axe, maybe definitely if it was a real axe, if I was going to be chopping wood and stuff, I'd want a bit of a softer reading. Anyway, yeah, that's what it is at the moment, and I'm happy for now. Thanks for joining me and my kitchen axe for part 3 of this little series. So we've gone from the normalising step that I did at the end of part 2 all the way through to testing the hardness. So everything fairly in detail of what I do for a heat treatment of SF100 stainless steel. So I hope you've enjoyed it, and thank you very much for watching. Give us a like and subscribe, and comment if there's anything you are wondering about. And yeah, see you all in the next episode, part 4 coming soon. Take care, bye bye.